come, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1.
Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is saved. Saved at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Forbes Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for the Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Rock and roll. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I will brush them away from the faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays there, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolis fires, ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. Here's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we haven't heard.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Yes, it's been back.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey! Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Friday
Yeah, end of the week. We have made it this far. Hope that your day is off to a great start. We will try not to screw it up if it is, and if it's a little slow, maybe we can provide you a little bit of a
lift.
Give
you a little jolt, possibly.
Yeah, and if we can't do it, get yourself some coffee.
There you go.
I'm Dan Scott.
There's always something.
Yeah, that's Forrest Stulting. We're happy to have you with us here on the program. Another beautiful day in the upstate. Looks like we're going to have a great day for football here tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely.
Homecoming 2017 for Furman as they take on the Mercer Bears. And to that end, with all the subplots and storylines and twists and turns, we're going to visit with Rick Cameron, the play-by-play voice of Mercer, coming up at 10:25 today, and then resume our high school football segment with Scott Keeler. He'll be with us via phone today, coming up at about 10:45. So a lot to do before we get to either of those interviews, and maybe a little bit afterwards too.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about tonight, Dan, because yesterday was a sports equinox, if you will, with the NHL, the NBA, MLB, and NFL all playing on the same day. It's only the 17th time that's happened, and the 7th time since the turn of the century in 2000. So there's a lot going on last night. Have to pick and choose what we're going to talk about. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, we'll try to get through as much of it as we can. We always, on Fridays, take a look at some potential upsets in the world of college football. So we'll be doing that. We mentioned Rick Cameron and Scott Keeler. And in Chicago, they can fly the L.
Yeah, it's going to be a long off season for those boys.
If the pattern holds true, now the Cubs are done with the World Series until the year 21-24. Which would be another 108 years.
You got time for that, Dan?
You know what? I don't think I'll be around, but I will make sure that I leave enough information behind that as that streak begins to build, even well after I'm gone, there will be people there to carry on the legacy.
Good. I'm glad to hear that one. I'm glad to hear that. Just flying that Reds flag as high as you can.
Yeah, well, it's the Reds flag and the anti-Cubs flag more than anything.
Fair enough.
But anyway, so we got that going on, and for all you Cubs fans out there, longtime Cubs fans, from last year. Sorry that your team is no longer.
Yeah, tough way to go out too, a drubbing.
Did you see earlier this year in Cincinnati?
Mm-hmm.
On the scoreboard between innings, the Reds trolling Cub fans who were in Great American Ballpark. They would show a Cub fan on the video screen, and there'd be a caption under it like been a Cubs rooter since 2016 and
since July or something.
Yeah. I mean, it was really well done. It was hilarious. Dodgers just jumped out last night early.
Man. Yeah,
scored early and often, and really made it easy for Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, he did not have any kind of pressure on him at all that entire game. I had a very easy 6 innings to go through, and saved a lot of bullets for the big World Series coming up starting Tuesday.
Yeah, we will
in Los Angeles.
We'll talk more about that, obviously, coming up in just a little bit. But at the top of the show every day, we take a look at the Furman calendar, give a little love to all of the programs here on campus, and then get into a much wider spectrum of the world of sports. So Forrest is going to start us off with.
Absolutely. Just want to give a big shout out to Ben Mathai and Alex Loeb on a job well done at Den's After Dark last night. The crowd was great. The energy was up. Seems all the participants enjoyed being there. They enjoyed the games with the student athletes, and the coaches versus the students. The coaches won 21-7, and Dwight Perry, he really showed out last night. I think he hit 4 threes in that game and a nasty step back, so he really showed his prowess on the basketball courts.
Oh, I am privileged to get to see Dwight in action quite a bit, especially when we're on the road and maybe I go to a shoot-around or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Dwight can still
he can play.
He can still jack it up.
Yeah.
he can still jack it up.
He's got a nice stroke. There's no doubt about that.
But how was Coach Ritchie?
He actually hit a couple threes himself.
Did he
Yeah,
really?
he looked somewhat athletic out there.
Somewhat athletic?
Hope you're not walking, Coach. But
well, actually, I hope you are.
Oh, that's good stuff. But yeah, just a great turnout last night. The new floor is great. The new lights are great, and the intros are going to be something special this year with all they can do with the new LED lights, with the turning them off and turning them on and flashing them, and the strobe light effect as well. So it's going to be some cool intros come the home games in just about a month or so. Not even that, a few weeks.
Yeah,
just a few short weeks.
10th of November.
Yeah, so about 3 weeks.
Bob Jones will be the opponent at Timmons Arena. So that's how close we are to getting this thing underway.
Yeah, all right. Moving on, the Furman women's soccer team has a big weekend this weekend. They have a game at Chattanooga Friday and a de facto SoCon regular season championship game on Sunday at Samford. The Bulldogs are also undefeated at 7-0, and essentially whoever wins that game will be your regular season champions in women's soccer. The women's tennis team will compete at the ITA Carolina Regional at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The men's tennis team will also be competing at the UNC Greensboro Fall Invitational in Greensboro, North Carolina. The men's golf team will play a tournament Saturday to Monday in Camden at the Camden Collegiate Invitational. And men's soccer has a big game Saturday night at Stone Soccer Stadium against ETSU, who is number 1 in the SoCon as we speak. And then baseball, they have the first purple and white game tonight at 5 o'clock. And another game tomorrow afternoon as well, and on Sunday. Not positive on those times, but I believe it's going to be after the football game on Saturday and I believe 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah, and with that, the second annual alumni game is tomorrow morning at 10:30 over at Latham Stadium. So you want to see some old guys, and they dress out and go out there and play. So if you want to see that,
I wonder if we're going to see any head first slides out there. That's my question.
Or any pulled hamstrings.
There you go. You're going to see something funny, that's for sure. But that's all that's going on around campus. Obviously, another fun-filled weekend coming up at the beautiful campus of Furman University. So come out and support your Paladins all across the board. And, of course, it's homecoming, too. So big football game tomorrow against Mercer at 1:30. So going to need to fill the stands for that one.
Yeah, I
hope to see you here.
I have seen a little bit of a buzz about this game on social media. That there appears to be, because it's homecoming, you got a team that's won 4 in a row. You got Mercer coming in. You figure Mercer's going to bring a decent road crowd. We could have legitimately our best crowd.
Oh, I think
of
so.
The season
we should
here, and yeah, I agree with you. You should, and in fact, this one, and then in 3 weeks, the Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
Those should be the 2 best attended games of the season, and this team keeps winning. Hopefully, people are starting to take notice.
Oh, I think so. I think that Citadel game in 3 weeks is going to be huge, especially if we're still undefeated at that time. That's going to be a monumentous game for the Paladins. So come out and support them.
Yeah,
simple
absolutely.
as that.
What do we have trivia-wise today?
All right, going to stick with the Furman Mercer. Oh, never mind. Actually, I just gave the answer away, so we're not going to do that. But let's see. Let's think of one on the fly here. Let's see. We'll just go ahead and say it. When was the last time Furman played an overtime game?
Oh, let's see. I wonder what that would be.
Oh man! Oh man! Oh man!
That was here 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
2015.
Yeah. So did we not go to overtime because of a penalty?
I can't recall that.
That pushed the extra point that would have won the game, or am I thinking about a different game? Maybe I'm thinking about a different game.
Okay.
All I know is that we owe Mercer. They've beaten us late each of the last 2 years.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
We'll need it.
Well,
after the break, I'll come up with another one.
The trivia question has just been shot out of the air.
It has, yeah. Just so, the cannon has exploded.
Yeah.
So.
Fortunately, our sponsors haven't, and we welcome, as always, our friends from the Atlanta Bread Company, and really appreciate what they do for us. Jeff Massey and his people there are fantastic. The food is great, and as the weather has started to cool down now, as I said yesterday, wouldn't some hot chili or hot soup really taste good on on these cool days and soon going to be cold days. Hot sandwiches, warm paninis, man, they've got it all for you there. And it's good hot coffee and other beverages as well. They have really stepped up as far as sponsoring this program, so please make sure you thank them for doing so when you go see them. That's the Atlanta Bread Company. They're located in Cherrydale Plaza, right down the road from campus. We will take a break and come back. You'll hear more about Atlanta Bread in this commercial set, and then we'll get into Force 3 things very quickly on the other side. Stay with us.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. All right, welcome back. We're just getting cranked up, 12 minutes after the hour. Of course, some of us have had the gun misfire in our hands.
Big time.
But Forrest thinks he has found a new trivia question.
Oh, I know I have, yeah. All right, so
well, you want to do it Jeopardy style? You want to go ahead and give the answer?
What is? Yeah. All right, so Bobby Lamb and Clay Hendricks both played from 82 to 85. Their last game was a loss in the championship game against Georgia Southern, but who was their last victory against in 1985?
Which would have been in the semifinals.
Correct. Someone's that gun is already smoking for you.
Right. The hamster is turning. So who was their last victory as players?
Yeah,
against in 1985's playoffs. Okay, there you go. See if we get some folks answer that. You can leave your guesses in the Facebook Live section and the Twitter or Periscope feeds, or you can just hit us up on Twitter at Dan Scott Show. All right, let's get to your three things. We're going to have to get through these pretty quick.
All right. College football upsets. First one, Syracuse at Miami. The Hurricanes have had a bit of luck on their side recently. They're also notorious for slow starts. But like Clemson, Miami can rush the QB, and Syracuse quarterback Eric Dungy will need to make some big plays this weekend. He's pretty elusive and can bust it outside and throw some good balls to his big playmaker out there, Steve Ishmael. And the Qs are undefeated when they score first. However, Syracuse will give the Canes luck this weekend. They'll be penalized a lot like they normally are, and Miami will win pretty handily down in Coral Gables.
I think Miami wins. This obviously is not the same set of circumstances for Syracuse. Friday night in the Carrier Dome, the things that they did offensively to confuse the Clemson defense. Miami's had a chance to see that on film now, it's a totally different atmosphere that they're going into. So I think Miami wins this probably 7 to 10 points, maybe more. So no upset there.
No, yeah. Game number 2, number 24 LSU against the Ole Miss Rebels. The Rebels QB Shea Patterson and his lanky wide receivers will have too much for the Tigers defense to handle, and I think LSU will not be able to keep up with the Rebels offense against a pretty bad Ole Miss defense, though. So we'll see. It's going to be a battle of the offenses and who can put up more points more quickly. But I think Ole Miss will take this one against LSU after them having pretty big win the past couple weeks.
So are you counting more on Ole Miss just playing that well, or are you counting more on an LSU letdown?
I'm counting more on Ole Miss playing really well in the offense and LSU not be able to stop the passing game.
And the game is in Oxford?
Yep.
Don't think it's going to matter. I think that this LSU team has – the entire program has refocused. And let's face it, Ole Miss is not a good football
They're
team.
not.
They're not a good football team at all. So
that's why it's an upset, Dan.
I understand. I understand that. I just don't think in this case there will be an upset.
Sure,
so
fair enough.
I'll take. Hey, look, man, I'm riding the LSU bandwagon
there you
here.
go, Ogeron.
That's right.
Right on. Game number 3, Indiana versus Michigan State. The Hoosiers freshman quarterback Peyton Ramsey took over last week and had a pretty good game against Michigan. And don't get fooled by Indiana's 0-3 record. This will be the 4th Big Ten game against a top 20 opponent. And I think they'll get the win here and finally break through in the win column in the Big Ten. They played all 3 of those teams pretty closely, so I think this will be the week where they get the W.
Game is where?
Oh, it's in Michigan State.
Yeah, I'll take this. I'll take Sparty.
All right.
I'll take Sparty.
So we're going to have some big differences come Monday, I think, as well.
Yeah. So you took 2 upsets out of the 3 games, and then yesterday. Let's remind folks about yesterday's picks, because there was at least one difference.
You both picked USC.
Right.
You both picked Penn State, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I picked Texas, and you picked Oklahoma State.
Right. Okay. So we got 3 games out of the 6 different.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens. All right, there you go. That's thing 1. Thing 2.
Thing 2. The Dodgers clinched their first World Series berth since 1988. That's 29 years, Dan, if you're counting. The MVP of the game was Kike Hernandez. He had a solo home run in the 2nd, a grand slam in a 5-run 3rd inning, and a 2-run shot in the 9th. And that ties 2 single-game postseason records. 3 home runs. He's the 10th player to do that, and the 7 RBIs. He's the 5th player with 7 RBIs in one single game in the postseason. So there's incredible stuff by him, and he's had a pretty rough go of it as of late. His dad had some cancer a couple years ago. Then his grandfather died last year, and so his dad was actually able to see the game in person last night in Chicago, and you could just see his face coming around the bases on that 3rd home run, and he was just ecstatic. And so just really good stuff to see Kike Hernandez kind of come through and push the Dodgers over the top for that first World Series clincher in 29 years.
I think the best part for me in the whole thing was that the grand slam came in the 3rd inning, right?
Yeah.
And in effect put that game away at 7-0 in the 3rd inning, and the Cubs fans at Wrigley had to suffer through 6 long,
because they weren't going to go anywhere. They were going to wait until the game
before that thing was over. And the longer they stayed around, the worse that it got.
Oh yeah. Clayton Kershaw had pitched 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts. So he did not really have too much stress on his hands, and the Dodgers bullpen kind of shut the door with Maeda, Morrow, and Jansen, only giving up 1 hit in the last 3 innings. Then the MVPs of the series, Chris Taylor and Justin Turner. So pretty good stuff from the Dodgers there, and there's some unusual stats that I have from this. There's been Kike Hernandez is the 5th player to hit 3 home runs in a series-clinching game, and he's behind Babe Ruth, Reggie Jackson, Adam Kennedy, and Adrian Beltre. So some pretty good names right there. And Wrigley Field has been home to the past 3 NL pennant clinchers: 15 the Mets, 16 the Cubs, and 17 the Dodgers. So there's a bit of luck in the air in Wrigley the past few years in terms of clinching the NL pennant.
And most of it's been bad for the Cubs.
Yeah, 2 out of 3.
Which is, the way the universe should operate. So,
oh, man.
I know that the Yankees and Astros play tonight in Houston, Game 6, and the Dodgers are waiting to see who's going to win that series. I'm rooting for the Astros.
Sure.
But if it does end up being a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, it's going to give me the opportunity next week to educate you on some big-time baseball history.
Oh, I can't wait for it, Dan.
So,
I can't wait for it.
But I'm hoping that I don't have to.
I'll just do it on my own then.
But we'll see what happens.
And that game tonight will be at 8 o'clock. You have Luis Severino against Justin Verlander, so a really good pitching matchup there. And then Game 7, the Yankees will pitch CC Sabathia, but unsure who the Astros will pitch. Now all determined on how well things go tonight in Houston with Justin Verlander on the bump.
Yeah, I mean, it's an elimination game, so it's Johnny Holstaff.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you probably will see Keuchel in there, even though you pitched, I think, 95 pitches just 2 days ago. So we'll see who they can bring out. And would they bring out Justin Verlander, Dan? Do you think they will, even if they're pitching in Game 6, if they need him in a Game 7?
I don't know, but I could see them turning around and starting Keuchel on what would be 2 or 3 days rest in a Game 7.
2, I think.
Yeah, I could see them turning around and starting him.
I don't think they'll start him. I think they'll bring him in relief. I'm not sure if they could start him. He wouldn't be able to pitch too much. But the last, I think, starter to throw in back-to-back games was Randy Johnson. He in the 2001 World Series, he pitched like 120 and then came in and pitched the 9th inning, right?
Yeah, started Game 6 and closed Game 7.
Yeah, against my beloved Yankees. Mm-hmm. So that's always a tear running down the cheek.
Well, I say he pitched. I say closed. He pitched the top of the 9th inning, and then Luis Castillo had the base hit.
Luis.
I say Castillo.
I
just blanked.
Gonzo.
Oh yeah, Gonzalez.
Yep.
Had the game-winning hit.
That's why you never put the infield in, folks.
All right, that's 2.
You want to do the third one after?
Yeah, let's go to break.
Let's
go to break and get Rick Cameron on. Talk some Furman Mercer football coming up with the veteran play-by-play voice of the Mercer Bears, Rick Cameron. We'll do that and much more as the Dan Scott Show continues on this Free-for-All Friday edition right after this. Don't go away.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Traveler's Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at thecafeatwilliamshardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097 7. Give it CPR today. All right, welcome back. 1024 on this Friday edition of the program. Dan Scott and Forrest Stulting here, overlooking the visitor stands at Paladin Stadium out towards beautiful Paris Mountain, where tomorrow, right in this very booth, just at the next level down, we will be calling the action between Furman and Mercer Homecoming 2017. And on the other end of the press box, the guy joining us right now will be doing the same thing from the Mercer point of view. He is their longtime play-by-play voice and our good friend Rick Cameron. Rick, welcome to the program, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Dan. Doing well. As I shared with you yesterday, it's beautiful weather in Macon, Georgia. We thought it was going to be 99 degrees right up till Christmas Day, but some cool weather's moved in, and for the first time this year, it has felt like fall around here this week.
Yeah, it's kind of the old joke. I remember fall in Macon last year. It was on a Tuesday, I think, and and off you go.
It comes and goes real quickly. You better enjoy it while it's here. But hope you are doing well also.
Yeah, we are. We are. This is going to be an intriguing matchup. There are a lot of storylines and subplots and twists to go along with this because of the two head coaches. And obviously
Right.
Bobby Lamb is always a story because of his history at Furman, and now Clay Hendricks is on the Paladin sideline, and the two are lifelong friends, high school football teammates, Furman teammates. They coached together for years, and I know Clay has been trying to downplay it as just another game here. What about Bobby down there in Mercer?
Well, it was interesting, Dan, on Bobby's weekly radio show that we do at Wild Wing last night. We got into that segment of the program where we're talking about the opposing coach. And I said, Bobby, let's just imagine there's not a football game this week. If you and Clay were just going to sit down for dinner this evening, what would be the first level of conversation? He said, well, I'm sure he would probably wanted to be on his golf game. Said, we'd probably sit here and talk about golf for 30 minutes. But, this is the second trip back home as the head coach, a place where obviously he cut his teeth, and these two do go all the way back to commerce and such a close relationship. But I think Bobby has put it over in a portion in that internal closet. I got to get that out of the way. We may be best of friends, childhood friends, but we both got a job to do, and currently they both are doing an outstanding job, as we know. So I think he's looking forward to it. Obviously, there'll be a lot of friends and family for him as he returns back to Greenville, but it's going to be a great time for him to get together, and I think he's looking forward to it.
Yeah, as I say, the rivalry that's developed between these two teams in the 3 years previously since Mercer has joined the league has developed into one of the good ones. All the games have been close, and Mercer has won basically the last two games on the last play of the game for all intents and purposes. So you add all these things together, plus it's homecoming for Furman, and the stage is really set, I think, for a really, really good game here tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so, Dan. Certainly early in the season, Mercer lost a couple of close games. Wofford beat them by 1 point. Auburn game was kind of a pivotal game in more ways than one, Dan. Mercer went to Auburn, played really well in front of 87,000 folks, kept the score close, actually was only 7 points down with 8 or 9 minutes to go in the game. But following that game, you had the pat on the back, oh, what a great job. You were on the big stage, you played well. And I think as a result, it hindered Mercer the next week. Just did not play well, just flat. ETSU played a great game in Johnson City, but the Bucks got that win 26-23 in overtime. And all of a sudden, it was a real attention getter. And that's when Bobby and the coaches got the troops together and they implemented this 1-0 campaign. Now, I know all coaches will say we're just playing one game 1 week at a time, and that's all we need to focus on. But they literally put 1-0 signs on every door of the field house that next week. Brainwash the kids that, hey, we're going to play one game at a time. Our goal is to go 1-0. And they subsequently beat VMI the next week. We got to go 1-0. Citadel, that was the game motto, and Chattanooga's the same thing. So they've been on this roll for 3 weeks now. All they talk about is 1-0 every Sunday when they reconvene after a game. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and it's worked thus far. But as we all know, Furman has won 4 in a row, and now Mercer 3 in a row. So something's got to give tomorrow.
Hey, Rick, Forrest here. All year, your defense has been the stalwart of the team. You forced 16 turnovers, only allow 17 points per game. Steven Huza, LaMarcus Bailey, and Lee Bennett are kind of the big names on defense. Can you talk about them and other people we'll see on Saturday?
Yes. Yeah, in the defense, this past summer, the linebackers primarily, the guys you're talking about, Bennett and Bailey and others, they got together and said, I don't know who started the conversation, we think Bennett did, that we need something to hang our hats on for this coming year. So they named themselves the Legion of Chaos. So LOC has been implanted on every defensive player's forehead unofficially for the season, and then they kind of prided on that. They work real hard on turnovers, especially, as you pointed out. Bennett and Bailey primarily, although others have joined in. So that's been a big deal, and, I think if it's a rallying cry and something they can get behind, and I told them early on in the season, I said, well, LOC, that sounds good, and it's impressive to go in the game notes and a press write-up, but you've got to implement it, and not only 1 week, you've got to do it every week, and they really have. They've kind of bought into it and have really prided themselves in forcing turnovers when they get into battle on Saturday afternoon.
You're also pretty good in the red zone. Can you talk about your team inside the red zone on defense?
Right, red zone offense and defense. I know Furman's done well also. I think last week we missed a field goal, and that was only the second time all year we've not scored in the red zone. And we're actually ranked second in the nation in red zone offensively going into that game. I think we're 4th now. But defensively has been effective as well. And obviously if you can do well on both sides of the football in the red zone, and you can control turnovers and be efficient on not a lot of penalties. A lot of times, those are the type of things that can swing a game one way or the other.
Visiting with Rick Cameron, the play-by-play voice of the Mercer Bears. They will be the opposition here tomorrow afternoon. Homecoming for the Furman Paladins at 1:30 is the kickoff time. We will be on the air with the pregame shows at 12:15, the Southern Fried Cotton Tailgate Show. Yeah, Rick, you were talking about the turnovers, and statistics can be used, twisted, turned to mean anything you want them to mean. But you have 16 turnovers, and that's turned into 7.4 points per game off turnovers for your offense. Furman has 12 turnovers, 4 less, but 7.8 points per game off of those turnovers. So you got two teams who've been able to capitalize when they get the turnover. They've been able to turn them into points.
Yeah, I think the fact both teams are playing well, I think, and again, like you pointed out, you can turn numbers one way or the other. I think time of possession may be the most misleading number of anything because you got to score whether it takes 2 minutes or it takes 10. But going back to the turnovers, I think that very well. I think both teams have excellent kicking games. Both teams have done well many games on limiting penalties and have won the turnover battle. So I think that may be, if you're going to hang your hat on something, the team with the fewest turnovers, I know it's quite cliquish and generic to say, but that may be the number that we all look to tomorrow when the day is done as to who wins the football game, who has the fewest turnovers.
In your preparation for this game and talking with the coaches for this game, is the key matchup as simple as it looks on paper? Furman's offense, which is averaging 439 yards a game, versus a Mercer defense, which is only giving up 337. You're allowing 17.6 points. Furman scoring 36.3. I mean, that's the matchup that jumps off the page.
Right.
Is that in your estimation the key matchup?
Well, I think as far as Dan, the radio announcers, I think are right on. I think you're exactly right. I don't know that the coaches would be specific about that, but I think you've nailed it real well. Something that both you and I will be looking for, those matchups as well. And I think another thing that is of interest is how well the two teams have played in conference play on scoring points and allowing points. So, it's just all coming together for the two teams. And I don't know if the coaches will be that specific, but I think you've hit it very well, and I'll be taking that mindset as well going into the game.
Quarterback Keeler Riley and wide receiver Chandler Curtis have been hooking up all year long. Can you talk about their dynamic duo?
Kalen Riley, has done an outstanding job of redshirt freshman quarterback. Last week, he had, I think, an 84% completion percentage for a minimum of 10 attempts, the third best in program history. Kalen, this time last year, tragically, when John Russ was quarterback, we were just about without running backs. We got down to where we had to move Kyle Trammell, a linebacker, over to running back the last couple of games of the season. This year, we've got 3 running backs that can run the football. Didn't do as well against Chattanooga last week running as they had hoped. But then he's got 3 excellent receivers that he can throw to. And Chandler Curtis, his old high school teammate, is one of those. We call those guys the Calhoun connection. You've got Calhoun quarterback, Calhoun receiver, and, of course, they played for Bobby's brother Hal up at Calhoun, which is also where Taylor Lamb, Bobby's son, played, won a state championship as well. So we call the Riley to Curtis connection the Calhoun connection, but Ward and Irvin are also excellent receivers for him to throw to. They're actually battling one another for career completions for touchdowns. Curtis has got 16. The other 2 guys now have 13.
The offensive line has only allowed 1 sack per game, which is good for 17th nationally, but Furman's defense has 20 sacks on the year. What do you think it's going to give this weekend on the trenches up front?
Yeah, that's going to be a good battle as well. Obviously, coming into the year, I think Thomas Marchman, everybody knew what a great offensive lineman he was, but I thought some of the younger guys, Flath, Krieger, Yates is real strong on the right side, and then Austin Sanders transferred in right tackle. I think that's going to be a great battle. I think from Mercer's standpoint, they're going to try to balance it up with the run and the pass, and how much Bobby chooses to go one way or the other could determine how much pressure Furman gets on Riley and the capability to be able to put pressure on him or sack him. But I know Bobby's game plan usually, as you guys know, is try to balance it up between the run and the pass.
Well, the one thing that has to be aiding the progression of a young quarterback, a redshirt freshman, making his first collegiate starts is the fact that you've got such a strong defense. You can kind of lean on that while he was getting his footing, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly right. They done an excellent job. And again, you had a couple of games that you take the Wofford game, the team that everybody picked to win the conference. Obviously, they're still unbeaten and doing very well, but that game Mercer very easily could have won in Kalen's first conference game. But the defense held him in there finally and subsequently lost by 1 point, 28-27. Then next week, all of a sudden, you're asking a kid in only his third start to go and play a game, lead his team in front of 87,000 people. But Kalen's an intelligent kid. He doesn't get rattled, and he's about 6'3", 6'4", so he can see over the line very well, but he's real level-headed and has steadily gotten better. Maybe a couple of things that Bobby has worked with him on of when to run the football and run for the chains. And maybe if you're going to slide, don't slide too early. So he's tweaking those things but getting better in those decision-making as the season progresses.
You're 1 win away from tying the SoCon record for Mercer for the 4 wins. How have you seen this team develop over the last 5 years, and what's kind of improved in the biggest?
I'm sorry, I missed the start of your question.
What's you're 1 win away from tying the record for most SoCon wins by the Mercer Bears with 4. What's been the biggest improvement over the past 5 years with this program?
Biggest improvement, I think, speed, without a doubt. When we first started football back the first year in the Pioneer Football League, had a group of guys that just loved football. They didn't get offers to play college football anywhere on a scholarship. They came here because they wanted to be here. And actually, we won 10 games that first year. It was the most wins by any startup program in the history of NCAA football. Then there was that transition. All of a sudden, boom, we've decided to go scholarship. Then, boom, all of a sudden, we're going to play in the Southern Conference. I could tell a big difference when we played Jacksonville, which is still in the Pioneer Football League. When you watch that game and compare it back to year 1 playing against the Pioneer Football League, you could tell the big difference, speed. When the other team tries to sweep, pass down the middle, whatever, the team speed, obviously they're bigger and they're stronger, as we knew they would be. But to me, especially on defense, in our 5th year, is overall team speed. It's amazing how much faster these guys are than the first year when we started football back.
Well, Rick, it promises, I think, to be a very entertaining game. The matchups are potentially very, very entertaining, and of course with the storyline of Bobby and Clay and how that'll be interwoven throughout the afternoon and the telecast and everything else, should make for a great college football Saturday. Looking forward to seeing you guys up here.
Absolutely. I want to share one other very quick story. You know, Hunter Reed wrote the article about the two guys 53 yards apart and best of friends going to play. When I asked Bobby, I said, Bobby, I do have to ask you one thing. I said, Hunter Reed says he never saw you throw a football 50 yards, but you could softly throw it off the back of a mosquito from 35. What's the deal with that? I think he just gave me the stare down. I don't know that he ever answered that question other than I could throw it 50 yards if I had to.
That's good.
It's good. May not be as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. That's right.
You got that right. He might not ever let me forget that.
There you go. Hey, Rick, thank you, man.
Yes, sir. See you tomorrow.
All right,
Thanks,
buddy.
Rick.
That is Rick Cameron. He is the play-by-play voice of the Mercer Bears. When we come back, we'll visit with Scott Keeler and talk some high school football. Before we go and do that, though, just a quick word about CPR cell phone repair located in Cherrydale. They are, you can see the number there, 282-9097. If you have a busted cell phone screen like I did my iPhone, they took care of it in about 30 minutes. They say they can do iPhones in an hour. Obviously, they got mine done a little quicker than that. They can do just about any kind of phone and tablet you can think of, usually get it done the same day. Also can do computers and gaming systems, and not just the screens, but also can replace the hard drives if necessary. They sell refurbished phones and tablets. They sell brand new accessories for phones and tablets, and they're located conveniently right down the road from campus in Cherrydale Plaza. CPR cell phone repair. Please stop by and tell them that you heard about them right here on the show. All right, the interviews continue. Scott Keeler is up next. We'll talk some high school football on the other side. You are listening to and watching, we hope, the Dan Scott Show. Back in just a moment.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Traveler's Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. All right, welcome back, 1043. Our thanks again to Rick Cameron for joining us here on the program and helping us preview Mercer and Furman tomorrow. Rick will be in the other booth. You'll also hear from him when we do the other guy segment on
the
our
other guy segment.
Yeah, the other guy in the other booth.
No, yeah, it's just a funny name.
Yeah, he is. He'll be on the Southern Fried Cotton Tailgate show. Before we continue, just a quick word about our friends at Hall's Chop House, located in downtown Greenville. Talked to Billy yesterday, and although they're not open during the day, we are going to go down there sometime in the next couple of weeks and do a show from Hall's Chop House, just to kind of give you an idea of what the space is like, and maybe even see if we can get him to cook us up a little of those, little taste of those Allen Brothers prime steaks.
It will be lunchtime, Dan.
That they have. Yeah, I mean, 10 to 11 o'clock. We'll be more than happy to do that. They're open every night for dinner. They're open for brunch on Sundays. Have live music all those times. A patio area outside, and meeting rooms, meeting areas with Christmas coming up, corporate events, whatever the case may be. They've got plenty of room for you. And again, fantastic food. Hall's Chop House, the Greenville Steakhouse, located downtown. Tell them you heard about them here on the show. All right, you can see number 3 on our list on the today's show graphic. Scott Keeler joining us to talk some high school football as the regular season is beginning to wind to a close, and even some Thursday night football last night that had Scott's attention. Scott, welcome back after a little bit of a sabbatical. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are y'all?
We're fine. We're fine. You were out.
I don't know why I asked that. I've been watching all day. I know you guys are fine. Sorry.
It's a habit. It's a habit. Anytime you call somebody, how you doing? Talk show.
Just gotta make sure. Just gotta make sure.
Exactly. In case something happened during the break that you didn't know about.
Exactly.
There you go.
You were taking in some high school football last night and saw something pretty special, right?
Yeah, probably the best matchup of the year in the Upstate. We had in 3A, number 1 ranked Chapman hosting number 1 ranked Newberry. They both were 8-0 entering. Really interesting part about this is two teams. I've seen a lot of football games in my life. I've never seen a game where two teams had two 5,000-yard or each team had a 5,000-yard running back. And we had that last night, and Chapman's quarterback has 10,000 yards passing his career. And as you might imagine, there was points scored.
Yeah, I would have guessed that would be the case.
Right. Chapman won 53-34. Like I said, Newberry's running back with the 5,000-yard rusher for them basically kept them in the game much of the night. He finished with 306 yards and 4 touchdowns, and his team lost.
See, what the problem is, and Marcus McMorris, our sideline reporter, the former Paladin, is a Newberry grad.
Right.
And Marcus he's always flying that defensive flag. Newberry didn't play enough defense last night.
I think you're right about that one.
I think the problem was their offense got tired first.
Oh, is that what it was?
The running back for them had 226 yards in the first half, and so Chapman actually did a pretty good job holding him to just 80 in the second half.
Oh, only, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of pulled away there because it was a 27-20 game there in the second quarter, and they were just explosive offenses. Two really classy programs. A colleague of mine, Jed Blackwell with Spartanburg Herald, wrote a really great story previewing the game, and he noted the Newberry running back, his presence on social media is so unlike a lot of guys. He goes on there and praises the opponents. He seeks out the other guys that are doing well. And this is truly one of the best players that's ever played in the state. And he just deflects all the attention away from him and onto other guys. So just real good camaraderie. Two great coaches in Mark Hodge and Phil Strickland over at Newberry. Mark Hodge at Chapman. A really respectful game. They were posing for pictures after the game with each other. No saltiness whatsoever. Just two great programs, great kids, great coaches.
All right, good stuff. So what's on the agenda for tonight? What games are you focused in on?
I have a few tonight. Another really good matchup here in 2A as now Chapman is 9-0. Tijuana's 5-0 in 5A, and the only other upstate unbeaten at this point is Southside Christian in 2A, and they get to put that on the line at Abbeville tonight. Abbeville's enters at 7-1. They lost to Hartsville, which is a 4A power, a few weeks ago, and like I said, Southside Christian is 8-0, and they go to Abbeville tonight for by far their biggest test this season. It's funny, Southside Christian's actually ranked 6th in 2A, and Abbeville's number 1. So that'll be an interesting one. Burns goes to Gaffney tonight, and Burns is 7-1. Gaffney's 4-4. But the interesting thing about this is this turned into quite the rivalry. Spartanburg Gaffney will always be the rivalry for longtime Gaffney people. But if you ask kids these days, anybody under 25 or so for Gaffney, their biggest rival is Burns. But the thing about Gaffney is they're undefeated at home and winless on the road, and they have not. Every home game, they've won by at least 24 points, and every road loss has been a loss by 7 or fewer. So just a lot of close losses on the road and blowout wins at home. So it'll be interesting. Burns traveling to Gaffney tonight.
All right. And what's the other one?
We got one. I'll give you one more. Belton Honey Path goes to Wren tonight. BHP 7-1, 2-0 in Region 1 4A. And Wren is 6-2, 2-1 in the region. Wren's only region loss came at Greenville. I was really looking forward to that matchup a couple of weeks ago, and Wren's quarterback sat out. And Wren's quarterback this year is kind of like a Kelly Bryant light, but a really good player. And without him, they didn't really have much of a chance at Greenville. So Greenville took care of them pretty well. So Greenville's the other 7-1, 2-0 team. So BHP and Greenville both win tonight. That'll be a showdown at BHP next week between the Red Raiders and Bears for that region title. But BHP's got a tough test tonight at Wren.
So we're getting, as we said, coming down the stretch of the regular season, and we seem to be hearing a lot of the familiar names, Scott, at the top of the regions as the playoff picture starting to take shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just a little love from my alma mater. Hillcrest clinched a share of the region title last night with a win. They had a unbelievable win at Greenwood last Friday. Very emotional. They had a kid who collapsed at practice last week, and they had to resuscitate him. And they brought out his jersey. He obviously didn't make the road trip to Greenwood last week. They held up his jersey. His fellow seniors, other seniors held up his jersey during the coin toss. And they were down 44-33 with less than 3 minutes to play. And yada, yada, yada threw a flea flicker for a 29-yard touchdown with 3 seconds left to win.
Wow.
And that was just an incredible experience to witness that last week. And then they won last night over Wade Hampton to, like I said, clinch their share of the region title.
All right, good stuff. Anything else?
I think that's about it. I don't know if we mentioned Hannah. They got man tonight. I did mention all the unbeaten. Hannah's 8-0, still kind of the story of the season. They're ranked second in 5A, only behind Fort Dorchester, who's just steamrolling folks. Fort Dorchester has a really outstanding quarterback, and they came up to Dorman to open the season back on August 18th. They got shut out by Dorman in the first half of that game, but rallied to win the second half. And since halftime of that game, they've averaged 31 points a half.
A half?
Average. Yes, average scoring. Since being shut out in the first half of the season, or first half of the first game of the season.
Yeah, well, you know what? Take their frustrations out on everybody else the rest of the year. There you go. All right, Scott, good stuff, man. We'll look forward to doing it again next week.
All right.
And we'll see you up here tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
All right, take
See
it
you,
easy.
Scott.
Thanks.
It's going to be a former Greenville News reunion here tomorrow. So where our friend Willie T. Smith is going to be around.
Oh,
Manny Robinson, who still works for the News, is going to be here. Scott will be here.
I will be here. I was going to take my headset away.
I was trying to go. I was trying to go with popular people.
Exactly. Yeah, actually good writers. Yeah.
But anyway, looking forward to it, and we appreciate Scott. All right, let's take one more quick break, and we'll come back and do Forrest's final thing and put a wrap up on this program. Dan Scott Show continues, and we'll wrap it up for the week right after this. Stay with us.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
10:54 and down the stretch we come. Final segment of the show, final segment of the week. Been a good one today. Thanks to Rick Cameron for joining us, Scott Keeler for joining us, and we've got just a little bit of business to take care of and then put a wrap on things.
We sure do. Thing number 3. Some college basketball preseason rankings came out yesterday, and for the second year in a row and the 7th time since 1992, the Duke Blue Devils were picked number 1 in the country.
This was a coaches poll, right?
Coaches poll, yes, sir. Yep. They received 20 of the 32 first-place votes. The ACC had 5 schools. Big 10 had 4. The Big 12, the Pac-12, the SEC, and the Big East all had 3. The American Athletic Conference and the West Coast Conference both had 2 in the polls. The top 5 consist of Duke, Michigan State, Kansas, Kentucky, and Arizona. The next 5 in the top 10 is Villanova, Florida, Wichita State, North Carolina, and West Virginia. Any of those names surprise you, Dan?
Honestly, I was a little surprised to see West Virginia ranked in the top 10 in the preseason. I knew that they were going to have a good team, but they usually don't get that kind of recognition early on. They have to build it as the year goes. But outside of that, I mean, it's usual suspects.
Yeah.
Business as usual, whether that's good or bad in the realm of college basketball.
Sure.
So.
And some of the teams to point out, the Trojans are at number 11. Cincinnati, number 13. I'm kind of surprised by that. Minnesota at 15. Louisville at 16. So that's going to be interesting to see how far they drop and how quickly they drop with all the turmoil going on in Louisville right now.
Well, they still have a talented roster.
Oh, they sure do. But they're not. Bowen's not going to be there. They're one of the best coaches of all time. Is not going to be there, so it's going to make a difference, I think.
And they have, but that can work one of two ways.
Sure.
It can cause everything to fall apart, or it can be a rallying point.
Yep.
Circle the wagons, us against the world,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how.
Petito did say that David Padgett was one of his sons, and the players give everything they got to him, so kind of rally around him. So we'll see how the players responded. Alabama at 25, Baylor at 24. That's a little low for them, I think, compared to what they've done the past few years. Purdue at 21, Northwestern at 20, and then Gonzaga at 19 are just some of the names that popped out to me in that top 25 list.
Well, that's the first one.
Many more to come. You got that right. Yep.
All right. Got some on this dates?
I sure do. It's getting later and later in the year, so the list is getting smaller and smaller because obviously the World Series has not been played this late for the past 100 years.
Well, there are other sports.
Oh, are there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yes. In 1967, Bob Kennedy was named the first manager for the Oakland Athletics. 1988, the Dodgers win the World Series, and the only team to win 2 World Series in the 1980s. Just goes to show that the 80s had a lot of teams battling out year in, year out. This one's for you, Dan. In 1990, the Reds beat the Athletics in one of the biggest upsets in World Series history. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, Game 4, Jose Rijo gave up an early run, I think, in the first inning, and then retired, I think, the next 21 or 22 batters he faced.
Wow. This was in what game?
Game 4.
Game 4.
They swept the A's in 4 games. He was just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy Myers came on and got the save, a pop out to Todd Benzinger, and Reds were your world champs for 1990 and won as many World Series in the 90s as the Atlanta Braves did.
Hope you're not watching Hunter Reed.
I hope you are, because I always remind him of that when
you go.
He gets a little uppity about the Braves and the Reds.
They're 14 back-to-back or straight division titles.
Yeah, that's fine. That's great. That's all fine and dandy. We won as many World Series in the 90s as you did. So.
Yeah. Thanks to the Yankees. Yeah. Sticking with the Braves, in 1996, Andruw Jones is the youngest player to hit a home run in the World Series at the age of 19. In 2002, Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod, as he's usually known, becomes the youngest winner of the World Series game. He is 20. He only has 15 days of MLB experience, and he retires all 9 batters he sees in a row, and they win the World Series that year. And then, man, I didn't want to do this one, but I had to because I gotta be the sports journalist and not the fan waving Yankees fan that I am. In 2004, the Red Sox become the first team to beat to win a series down 3-0 in the ALCS. They beat the Yankees 10-3 that night on Johnny Damon's huge grand slam. I believe it was in the 4th inning or 3rd inning. So, ouch.
Yeah. That was the year of reverse the curse.
It was, yeah. So. I mean, 86 years, we'll take it. Yeah. So.
All right, good stuff. Trivia. Since we had to reboot the trivia question.
All right, the question is, that's not. Here it is. So 85 was the last year of Bobby Lamb and Clay Hendricks on the football team. They lost to Georgia Southern in the championship game. And who was their last win against in the semifinals of the playoffs?
Who was it?
Nevada. 35-12 of victory.
I think we had a correct guess. It might have been Mark.
I think Mark got that one right.
Who guessed it? Yeah.
So good job by Mark there. It was knows his history for sure.
Good stuff. With that, we will wrap it up. And thank you for your kind attention. Again, our thanks to Rick Cameron, the play-by-play voice of the Mercer Bears, and to Scott Keeler to joining us talking some high school football. Back with you here tomorrow to bring you the call of Furman and Mercer Homecoming 2017, beginning with the Southern Fried Cotton Tailgate Show at 12:15 and the kickoff at 1:30. Love to have you joining us here in the stadium. If you do, bring a radio. You can listen to the in-house feed at 95.9, and the game's also on ESPN3, of course, with Bob Mahalik and Sam Weish upstairs. And this week, Bryant Lambert filling in for Scott Cole on the sidelines. So we've got you covered either way. Love to have you here, and let's see if the Paladins can keep this train rolling in the right direction as they go for win number 5 in a row. That's all tomorrow. We will see you here at the stadium if all goes according to plan. Until then, and then Monday back here on the show for Forrest, I'm Dan saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.
He'll start under center.